Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, Red Elevator. Yes, this is a red elevator, and today we are going to have so much fun because we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, kitchens, and the design mistakes you want to avoid before renovating or before building your kitchen. Make sure you avoid these mistakes, so follow me and let's get into it. Since so many of you asked, today I'm wearing jewelry from The Real Real. These are beautiful costume pieces, and my dress is Diane von Furstenberg. Lastly, my shoes are also from The Real Real, and they're Stuart Weitzman. The very first mistake you want to avoid when building your dream kitchen is to take into consideration, meaning there is more instances where you're going to be cooking with somebody else than not. Most people forget that. For instance, you're cooking with your husband, somebody's doing the prep work, somebody's doing the cooking, you're colliding. Some people have friends that come over and help them cook. So the likelihood of two people being in the kitchen at the same time and preparing is very high. Hence, you must take that into consideration and add items in that kitchen that are going to make that work. In order to do that effectively, I definitely recommend that you have a second sink. Now, second sinks are a big plus in any kitchen because one can be a prep sink and then one can be your regular dishwashing sink. What's great about having two sinks is that the two people who are working are not colliding. There's nothing more irritating than when people are in your way and you're trying to get a hot pan off of a stove, or all sorts of other scenarios can happen. So the other thing that you need to do when designing a kitchen, and the mistakes that a lot of people make, is that they do not leave enough counter space. If you have the luxury of having room, such as I do, because we live in California and luckily we have more land than most people, such as those in New York. But if you can, I would definitely try and add more counter surface so that you can have different areas of prep work and people are not colliding into one another. The next mistake that I see a lot of people make, and one that you should avoid, is assuming that upper cabinets are an absolute necessity. They are not. Upper cabinets are very useful to have if you have a lack of storage, and there are certain instances, like in New York and Paris, where you just cannot live without the upper cabinets. But for all intents and purposes, the kitchens that I am seeing, the kitchens that I am designing, are so massive that upper cabinets are just wasted cabinets that A, cost money, and B, are visually intrusive. Lastly, if you do want to install upper cabinets, one thing that I definitely recommend is to have that piece be more architectural. So if you have wood cabinets perhaps on the bottom, on the top cabinets you can have something entirely different, whether it be a glass cabinet made of steel or brass or something of intrigue, something of interest. And that is a very good way to do it. The next big mistake also has to do with upper cabinets, but this is a pet peeve of mine and something that I'm gonna have to start a campaign about. Because if you have ceilings that are 9 feet and below, you must take your upper cabinets to the ceiling. There is no reason whatsoever to have it short and have a random space between your upper cabinets and the ceiling. And the reason is you're going to be tempted to put those terrible baskets that people put on top of their cabinets, or decor they think is going to look good that only collects dust. Upper cabinets need to go all the way to the ceiling. And if you don't, that's okay, but you must have ceilings that are 10, 11, 12, 13 feet in order to justify that. The next big mistake is really not thinking about your household's personal needs. And by that, I mean that most people design a kitchen, they say, oh, I want an island, I want a fridge, and they're really not thinking about their daily routine. Planning is very important when it comes to a kitchen, and planning in advance is also quite critical. I recommend having a specific plan per drawer. Every drawer that is designed in a kitchen must have a purpose. You can have a specific drawer for your saran wrap and your foil. You need to have a specific drawer, for instance, for all of your Tupperware. Everything needs to be planned out according to how you live. And therefore, when the kitchen is done and ready, it is very useful and it is very easy to access the items in the locations for which you will be using them. The next big mistake is literally focusing on resale value of your home versus your value, which is your personal style. And this is a big mistake that I see across the board. A lot of people design kitchens, and most people live in their homes an average of 7 years. And so what happens is by the time those 7 years are over, chances are the kitchen needs updating anyway. And so you have foregone your personal style and the way that you love to live because of some notion that you're gonna sell your kitchen. Definitely lean into bold choices. This kitchen couldn't be more bold. And I did it not for resale purpose, even though most likely I will sell this house one day, but I did it because I loved it. I loved it at the moment. I wanted to do something bold. It represents who I am, and I'm living my true self. The next big mistake that I see is lighting. Not making lighting an absolute priority, and beautiful lighting is not a priority in most cases, which is a tragedy. To me, that's an absolute tragedy because my favorite thing on the planet is lighting. To me, lighting is like jewelry. The same jewelry that I put on to dress is definitely what I want to put in my spaces. And in this kitchen, you guys have seen my pendants. I hand drew them. I designed them. I wish they were for sale. I can't tell you how many people have asked me to buy these pendants, but there aren't because I had someone manufacture them for me, and they are no longer manufacturing. So I can't at the moment have them for you, but perhaps I will make them for the public. But what I would like to say is that having architectural lighting or having lighting that's beautifully done, especially with the plethora of lighting stores and designers that are out there, there is no reason why you shouldn't have something very special hanging in your kitchen. So outside of the specialty lighting, another mistake within the lighting format that I see is that there is way too much recessed lighting. Everyone is popping in recessed lighting as if it's the next, best thing or the last Coca-Cola in the desert. It isn't. Over recessing is a problem, and it becomes very bright in your kitchen. Even if you have dimmers on everything, you want to have a combination of lighting. We've touched upon this before in other videos, but it is really important to bring in that decorative effect, the jewelry into your home, and use beautiful lighting in your kitchen. Another big mistake is not thinking through your faucet. And what do I mean by that? I mean your faucet is probably one of the most important pieces of hardware in your kitchen. It stands out. It is part of the main heart of the kitchen. It's right above the main sink. Usually the sink is much larger than your bathroom sink. And so it's a piece that needs to be really thought through carefully, not only with its use, but also in its design. These days, there are so many incredible faucets that are out there. I am using them in homes, and they are two-tone, or they have long arms, or they have these beautiful, coils in them. There's no reason why your faucet shouldn't be not only utilitarian, with the kitchen pulls that have multiple functions, and therefore do not forget to spend time, effort, and money in your kitchen faucet. The last mistake I want to point out, which is also extremely important. Everything I say is very important, it seems, but it is. That is, do not skimp on your range. You can have an incredibly expensive kitchen with the best materials in the world. If you put a cheap range, the kitchen will look cheap. I'm sorry to say it, that's how it is. You have to invest in a range. And by the way, there are some great affordable ranges out there. It doesn't have to be very expensive for it to be great. And I would definitely invest in the range. The refrigerator is also important, but that can be hidden behind cabinetry, and there are lots of ways of doing drawers for your refrigerator. So that is not as important as the range. The range is also probably smack center in the room. It's the one item you cannot really hide behind cabinets, as our oven. So basically your range oven is something that needs to be beautiful. There are lots of companies that are doing beautiful ranges. They do them in a variety of colors, which I think is really fun. And they do them with very high elevated style. So don't forget to really focus on bringing in a good quality range. Thank you for joining me on this very special episode of Kitchen Design Mistakes. I hope that I was able to provide some valuable information, and hopefully you can avoid some of these kitchen mistakes. If you didn't know about one of these mistakes, or if you found one of these mistakes really valuable, I'd love to hear which one that is. please comment below. Don't forget to subscribe, otherwise I won't be able to continue to make such wonderful content for you. Hopefully it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. But thank you again. Loved seeing you, love the support. Thanks for all your positive comments, by the way. I try and answer as many as I can, but I do read them all. So just because I haven't responded doesn't mean I haven't read them. I love every one of your comments. I get an alert, I read them. Thank you, and we will see you again right here on the Red Elevator next week.